Hey, what is up, everyone? Here we are again, once again, going over this. So, like yesterday, even though I said it was going to be a brief stream yesterday, it ended up being almost 2 hours. Hopefully, I could get through this one a lot quicker because I really don't want this one to be anywhere near close as long as yesterday because there's not really too much to talk about, but there's certain things that I wanted to highlight regarding this is a filing prior to the most recent one. And like I said, we'll go over it. But it's as you can see from the title of the video, there's certain things that I really want to focus on regarding this potential filing. So like I said, I'm going to try to get through it as quickly as I possibly can. And of course, I will leave this VOD up for anybody that wants to check it out for themselves. But this filing right here was one of the newer ones. This is, I should say, Ohm's response to the motion for reconsideration. As you know, Delirious filed a motion for reconsideration for having the case dismissed, right? So, hey, what's up, Zana? How you doing? And this was the response to that. Now, in this document, there is contained some evidence, I guess you can call it, which I would say is, in my opinion, not conclusive, but I'll wait till we get there. So like I said, this one probably won't go too long. This will be the only thing I'm covering today. There was a filing after this by Delirious and his attorneys where basically they respond to some of the things that they're accused of, the things that they admit to, and then the things that they outright deny, for their motion to dismiss to be reconsidered and stuff. So I mean, there's not really much to go through there. It's just basically kind of like a list of things that, okay, defendant admits to this, the defendant denies this, that, or the other. But I think we've kind of already seen that established throughout the course of these documents that have been filed on both sides, what it is that, Delirious is copped to and what it is that he just outright denies, right? So I don't think it's something really worth going over, but maybe we will at some point in time. But I have no interest in going over it because, like I said, it doesn't really have anything outside of that. It's just like, outside of, it's literally just that, the certain things specific things that he's been accused of, just, either admitting to or just denying. So now we have, now comes, Ohmwrecker by way through his attorneys, Edmondson Davis, and his response to defendant's motion for reconsideration of Judge Kendall's December 16th, 2022 denial. Defendant's motion to dismiss. He asserts as follows: on September 1st, 2022, the court granted plaintiff's motion to leave to file a SIR reply in opposition to defendant's motion to dismiss. We filed the SIR reply on November 18th, 2022. Defense counsel filed a set of objections to the SIR reply on December 12th, 2022. Defense counsel never sought leave to file a brief in response to our SIR reply, and nor did he move to strike. That's true, right? He did not move to strike. On December 14th, 2022, the court correctly denied defendant's motion to dismiss, holding that let me see, I guess I think that's Delirious' suit related or Ohm's suit related Delirious' related conduct created a substantial relationship with Illinois sufficient to establish minimum contacts with the state. Defense counsel wrongfully faults the court for allegedly giving him no opportunity to respond or challenge the SIR reply argument. In reality, defense counsel simply did not choose to respond to the SIR reply. Defense counsel had ample time to seek leave to file a brief in response to SIR reply. Defense counsel had from November 18, 2022, when we filed our SIR reply, this court's ruling on December 14, 2022, if he felt it necessary. Further, the defendant brings this motion for reconsideration without referencing newly discovered evidence previously available to him or a change in the law. Defense counsel attached a new affidavit from his client along with various exhibits. However, those should be stricken because there is no allegation that they were unavailable or newly discovered following this court's ruling. This court's ruling was not grounded on a misapprehension or misunderstanding of the facts. Regardless, we will respond to defendant's arguments. Let me see. So Delirious' contact establish sufficient minimum contacts with Illinois to support specific personal jurisdiction because Smith intentionally and expressly aimed his defamatory conduct at Illinois with the knowledge that his actions would be felt in Illinois. He falsely suggests that Ohm made no effort to keep his personal identifying information secret. To the contrary, Ohm's entire professional persona was found on his anonymity. His professional YouTube account named Ohmwrecker Masked Gamer. Masked as if you don't know who he is. Ohm's YouTube handle, i.e. his unique profile name as Masked Gamer, is shown below. Ohmwrecker's actual name appears nowhere on any of his social media accounts or gaming platforms. Let me see. Delirious' assertion that Ohm's anonymity was not important to him is absurd since Ohm began gaining popularity as a YouTube commentator in early 2014. He has made every effort possible to mask his true identity. See Ohm's affidavit attached to Exhibit 1. Since that time, Ohm only existed to his fans under his pseudonym Ohmwrecker. Prior to Ohmwrecker, i.e., Ohm never showed his face while streaming. He never provided his name or address to fans. He did not attend any live events in an effort to provide him and his family with more safety through anonymity. Years ago, Ohm formally requested that the online directories, the white pages, and PQ.com permanently removed all listings for him. See Ohm's attached correspondence with the white pages. Customer support attached to Exhibit A also succeeded in having other online directory websites not displaying his girlfriend's identity or address. Exhibit A, page 3. Okay. Ohm's Exhibit A showing that Ohm's full name shows a website from a debt showing I think this was actually they're referring to Delirious. Delirious is Exhibit A showing Ohm's full name, shows a web page from a dead website using Wayback Machine and an internet archive device that takes snapshots of the web pages at various points in time. That web page archive was only active in 2004, almost a decade before Ohm gained notoriety in his community and made efforts to privatize his identity. Delirious's Exhibit B was a post written by Ohm in late 2012 as the editor-in-chief of a website, ve3d.ing.com. It was a sign-off post before the site was permanently closed. That post would not be accessible to the public internet without using the Wayback Machine in any point after 2012. Let's see. Delirious's Exhibit C shows Ohmwrecker's Twitter profiles that appeared in early 2013, also using Wayback Machine. At the time, Ohm also used the moniker Ohmwrecker while concealing his last name, photo, and other identifying information at that time. Ohm had less than 2,000 followers, as can be seen in Delirious's Exhibit C, so security was way less of a concern for him in later 2013. Ohm changed that Twitter profile to simply Ohmwrecker, removing his first name in the article. The article in Delirious Exhibit D was published in June 18, 2022, which is well after Ohm and others outed Ohm as Ohmwrecker. So this is interesting, right? Because they put it here. After Delirious and others outed Ohm as Ohmwrecker. So at least they're acknowledging, yeah, it wasn't just him, right? It is unclear at one point Delirious is trying to make with this Exhibit D. Ohm's decision to Delirious's decision to defame Ohm to his million-strong Delirious army, including falsely claiming that he had video evidence of Ohm engaging in pedophilia, followed by publishing Ohm's Illinois home address and invited physical harm. Ohm has presented evidence of significant effort over the past decade to hide and erase his identifying information from the internet, and Delirious is not absolved of wrongdoing because Delirious has failed to because Ohm has failed to sufficiently hide from the world since childhood. Okay, that's a little bit dramatic, right? And we see it right. This is part of the problem that I've had with a lot of the filings on Ohm's side, right? Regarding the whole Delirious doxing him thing, because we see here him saying his decision to defame Ohm to his million-strong Delirious army, including look, there was stuff obviously that I'm sure that there was stuff that Delirious said on his Twitter account, right, where he talked shit about Ohm, and the kind of person he is. There's no doubt about that. That did happen at one point in time, but where he said some nice things about Ohm. As far as defamation goes, I mean, really, the things that are the most defamatory that we've seen the most evidence of is stuff from like alt accounts, right? That were really not done. And if they were done in public, right? You're talking about alt accounts that had no followings, right? So I don't see how that goes to his millions, right? His million strong army, his millions of fans when it's done from alt accounts, right? So there's that misleading, you know what I mean, that they're doing here, you know, um, or what I would say, you know, they're trying to conflate it. I would say they're trying to conflate it, right? Trying to say like, oh, well, you know, these accounts that were proven to be delirious, you know what I mean, were put out to his millions of fans. Well, that's not exactly true, right? Because when we see like the Kiwi Farms link that was shared in a private message, okay? And as far as him you know, broadcasting it to his millions of fans, they haven't shown anything where he did that, right? Where he broadcasted like his docs, his home address and stuff like that. They've yet to show any kind of tweet on a platform where he has a significant following. I mean, you would think that they would show something like, I don't know, a community post from his YouTube channel, from Delirious's YouTube channel, a tweet that shows him, you know, telling people Ohm's full docs and directing people to his full docs and saying stuff. They allege a lot of things that I have not seen any evidence for, right? Outside of maybe one private DM where you see, again, him sharing the Kiwi Farms link to somebody, but not necessarily, you know, again, the fact that the docs is in there is incidental. It's not, it could be argued at least. So it's just, it's interesting how this is all being, put into this, you know, into these filings. I find it fascinating. Let me see the remainder of who is this? Delirious motion exhibit appears to show that a few other individuals with very small followings also doxed Ohm before or after Delirious did so is unclear. Wait, what? Hold on. Also, a few other individuals with very small followings also doxed Ohm before or after Delirious did so is unclear. What do you mean? It's very clear. There's timestamps. See, this is what I mean. It's just like this is super. It's super misleading. It's super misleading because we know the dates. It's just like they're right there. We see it happen. Like before Delirious decided to do it himself, we know for a fact that other people were doing it first. That's already been proven. Like anybody that's been looking into this and that has been following this knows this. You know, so this is see, this is the kind of shit I don't like. But you know, I get it. Hey, look, they're lawyers. They got to do what they got to do for their boy. You know what I mean? They gotta argue what they gotta argue. But this is disingenuous. To present it this way is super disingenuous. To say, oh well, you know, it's unclear. No, it's not. It's pretty clear. We've seen the timeline of events, and it's pretty clear that other people were doing it well before, you know, Delirious decided to do it. Don't be dishonest. So just because someone else also published Ohm's identity or home address doesn't make it any less significant when Delirious did it repeatedly, especially given Delirious's following in the millions. That's a fair point. I'll give him that, right? You know, just because someone else published it, you know, doesn't make it any less significant when Delirious did it. But here's the thing. They say, especially given Delirious's following in the millions. Here's the problem. Again, at no point in time do we see that it's shared to his millions of followers, right? That his full docs is shared to his millions of followers. I haven't seen any evidence of that. Does it exist? Maybe it does. Like I said, if it does, cool. But here's something that they use as an example. And again, this is what I was saying. Like, this is what I alluded to yesterday when I was talking about the evidence that's being presented and how misleading it is, how disingenuous it is. This is a prime example, right? They use it right here. For example, Delirious posting as this, you know, Ryan, whatever, 83, whatever number, publicly posted a photo of Ohm with his Illinois home address redacted here, right? So you have an alt account here, right? That probably had no significant following whatsoever, right? Posting this, which, as far as I know, hasn't been confirmed to be Delirious outside of them saying it here in this filing. They don't provide, and maybe they do have it. In fairness, maybe they do have it, but they don't provide any evidence that this is 100% Delirious. Like I said, we know the accounts, the ones that Delirious has admitted to being, right? Pizza Pirate, Hopper 98, Birdwatcher, Ohmlied. Those were the ones that were acknowledged to be him, right? That he's admitted were him. Okay. I don't remember this one being one of them. And again, this is an alt account, which probably had no following. So how is this going out to Delirious's millions of followers? Even let's say it was him, right? Let's say this is one of the burner accounts. How is this going out to his millions of followers, right? Did he retweet it? I don't think so. I don't ever recall Delirious retweeting this. And if he did, I think then you would have that argument, right? That he's putting it out to his millions of followers, right? If this was retweeted, but I don't believe it ever was. So again, they're being disingenuous with how they're presenting all this, right? Then Delirious they say Delirious publicly posted from the same account. I know why you didn't want this public. With a picture of a computer screen purporting to show a video file. And again, keep in mind, I don't recall this ever being one of the accounts confirmed to be Delirious. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it's something I overlooked. Maybe I didn't see that. Maybe I'm completely wrong. If someone in chat knows, please, let me know if I'm wrong about this. I don't recall this ever being one of the ones that Delirious admitted to having. You know what I mean? And if it's been confirmed by people at Twitter, right? Why not just show that, right? To take any reasonable doubt completely off the table. Like show, oh, here, 100%, this was him, right? This was linked back to him, this, through devices or whatever, however, which way, right? But this one, to the best of my knowledge, and again, I could be completely wrong, and I will gladly correct the record if I am, but I don't recall this one being one of the ones that was associated with him. But it very well could be, for all we know. And maybe Ohm's lawyers have something that unequivocally proves that. But as far as it exists here in this filing, this to me is not conclusive. Okay. Let me see. Delirious's post was his way of telling the world that he supposedly had the video evidence of Ohm engaging in pedophilia. No such video exists, and Ohm never had an appropriate or illegal relationship with a minor. These posts go to the heart of Ohm's defamation claims against Delirious. In another example of Delirious doxing Ohm and referencing that non-existent illegal sex tape with a minor. Delirious posted from his account Ohm lied. Now we do know that this one was Delirious, right? We do know that one was one that Liz Katz admitted to being Delirious, right? And in subsequent filings, Delirious has admitted it as well, right? Why hasn't anyone questioned the email leak of Ohmwrecker on the Kiwi page, right? So we know about this, right? This was definitely him, right? That was Delirious. In the post above the Kiwi page, Delirious is referencing is a series of posts on the platform KiwiFarms.net in which an individual also outed Ohm is Ohmwrecker. The Kiwi Farms post below, and I went ahead and redacted that, but the Kiwi Farms website is a well-known hate site. Okay, here we go. The Kiwi Farms website is a well-known hate site routinely used to harass and dox people with autism, feminists, people with disabilities, members of the LGBTQ community, as well as other enemies. That the Kiwi Farms site that Delirious referred people to was removed from all major internet hosting providers, and upon information and belief, the Kiwi Farm site is currently hosted on Russian servers. Oh my God, they fucking they reference a Kotaku article. Yeah, noting that the site's hateful and violent content violates their terms. Users of the site frequently pull individual pieces of information about a famous and or newsworthy individual to publicize their full address, personal email accounts, and information on their children. After Ohm reported the post to the Kiwi Farms page of Twitter, Twitter made it impossible to link that web page, a process called link banning. Because of the link ban, Delirious had to merely encourage his followers to search for the page themselves rather than link it. i.e., Delirious was reminded that what he was doing was wrong. He did it anyways. This is that. This is a site that Delirious was encouraging his followers to visit, a hate site with Ohm's real Illinois address. Illinois fans and members. Notice how they put that in there. His his Illinois address. Delirious's Illinois fans and members of Ohm's real life community heard Delirious' allegations and threatened to show up at Lord's home. Again, saying, that they do that thing again, right? Where they're trying to say that, he knowingly was trying to mobilize people in Chicago for this, which again, I don't think, maybe he thought that far ahead. I don't know, but we saw these before in previous filings, right? Some of these tweets, right? From people. What's interesting though? Obviously they're people saying stuff, right? Threatening things to him. But again, this is something that happens to people with a profile on a daily basis by people that just don't like them. So it's not something that is unique only to Ohm. As noted in a previous brief, Delirious from his social media account Hopper98 outed Ohm as Ohmwrecker and famed him to his fellow gamer Angel Pray Tell, warning that and we know about this, right? This was the DM, right? This is the other thing too. Again, how disingenuous they're trying to make it. He outed Ohm to this Angel Pray Tell person, but he did so in a DM. It wasn't something that was out there in the public space. It wasn't something that was highly publicized the way they're trying to make it seem. So, it just, again, they make it seem a lot worse than it actually was. If we look at yesterday, right? We look at yesterday how we were looking over Delirious's filing, and again, I'm looking forward to seeing if they file exhibits with it. But I have reason to believe that they do have that all, because we've seen how Ohm has acted publicly, right? Ohm has tweeted several times very publicly about Delirious being a pred and, a ped and stuff like that. So that's something that's really going to work against him if this countersuit goes through, if it doesn't end up getting dismissed and it ends up proceeding forward. That's something that's going to be damaging to him, because he did do a lot of stuff in the public space on his own accounts. Remember all the different commentary channels he went to, or other videos of people where he got into the comment section and wrote, 1 to 2 page dissertations responding to people, or just calling out people that he felt were, quote unquote, like validating what Delirious was doing. You know what I mean? Doing it very publicly. All for there to see. Like I said, look, I'm not excusing what Delirious did. What he did was dumb. It was very stupid. And he'll deserve what's coming to him regarding his own mistakes in that regard, right? If the court if the courts have the way, I guess he deserves whatever licks he needs to take for that. But let's look at the difference here, right? The difference is a lot of it was, at least for the most part, Delirious, even though he did a very poor job of it, he tried to do it a little bit more covertly. All right. And I'm just saying this again, if you look at it objectively, he at least attempted to do it a little bit more covertly. He did a very piss poor job of it, and it came back to bite him in the ass. But at least he attempted to do it a little bit more covertly. Nothing that Ohm has done has, to me at least, it doesn't, I mean, I'm sure he has done his own share of covert things, right? But he's also done a lot of things in the plain view of the public as well, at least online. So that, to me, I think is also something that is going to come back and bite him. So, it's interesting. We see this person, Angel Pray Tell, being referenced, right? Which I guess is another gaming person. Let's see though. Let me look them up real quick. Who's Angel Pray Tell? Let's see. Doesn't seem like that account is even around anymore from what I'm seeing. Let me see. Let me see if I could find them real quick. And again, don't bother anybody on that account. I'm just trying to see if by chance, where is it? Yeah, I don't think this person is even an active user anymore. Not able to find them at all. So I think they might have deleted their account, but I don't know who they are, or what kind of following they had. My guess would be probably not too big of a following either. Because if you think about what Delirious is doing behind the scenes and the people he was hitting up, people with Chilled Venom, people like Chilled Venom, people, just random people that didn't even have, I believe some people that didn't even have any kind of YouTube presence or following. It's just very small in comparison. A lot of it, like I said, was done in private. So he's here. That's the DM there. In the message above, Delirious provides Ohm's actual name and address, directs her to the Kiwi Farms website, which contains further defamatory information about Ohm, while accusing him again of making a sex tape with a minor. Delirious admitted he is Hopper 98. He did. This is true. In his affidavit in paragraph 3, as far as a single direct message that plaintiff relied upon in the sure reply, while I did send the direct message saying to pray tell using a short-term alternative account, it should be noted that the account I used had 0 followers. And this is important, right? Because this is, all right, this is probably the case, like I said, even if the Ryan account, right, which again has not been confirmed to be Delirious, but let's say it is, right? Even if it is, and it had 0 followers, that's not Delirious putting it out to his millions of fans. Okay? So this whole thing of, he's putting it out to his millions of fans. Did he retweet it from his main account? Okay, so then he didn't put it out to his millions of fans. He put it out to a small group of people that might have seen it and had no reason, and probably didn't have any reason either way to either care or, really have any reason to rebroadcast, right? Or to what's the word I'm looking for, to signal boost it, right? From a burner account. So, and referenced message was private. That's another thing that's important here, right? Because they've been trying to make it seem like everything that Delirious was doing was out in the public space, that he was broadcasting it to everybody, anywhere. And again, going in private and telling certain people this, it's not good either, right? It's not good either, but it's still not the same as getting on Twitter. And again, in my opinion, getting on Twitter every so often, engaging with people in replies and stuff like that, and tweeting out that, Delirious is a pred or a pedo, or going to people's comment sections on their YouTube videos or commentary videos and writing dissertations about how he's a pred and a pedo and things like that. So no public direct messages sent to another gamer who I had pre-existing relationship with. Further, my message only shared a link to public Kiwi Farms thread, which happened. And remember, we went over that in the last stream, which it happened to have his docs, right? He just shared the link. It's one of those things that I knew that they were going to argue and say, hey, look, I just shared the link to the Kiwi Farms page. The fact that it had any other personal information in it is purely accidental. I was just sharing the link. That's it. And it just happened to have his docs in it. Oops. So that's what they're going to try to, argue if it goes as far as, deposition or they actually get to the point of, battling it out in court, right? From Delirious' Pizza Pirate account, which again was also confirmed to be him, right? Delirious also accused Ohm of making a sex scene with a minor, messages with Chilled Venom, a YouTube commentator for a drama channel within the gaming community. We know about this. In the 2 emails below, writing from his account, Susan Storm, Yahoo also outed Ohmwrecker as, as his real name, obviously, and accused him of underage RP. This is another one too that I find interesting, that they declaratively say that this was Delirious when this is never, as far as I know, again, and maybe they have something that will prove it, but this has never been unequivocally proven to be Delirious either. The Susan Storm account, this has been one that they've, that Ohm himself has been alleging for a while, that I know it was Delirious. It's like, you saying that, and you actually having substantiated evidence that proves it that's two entirely different things. What you know, what you quote unquote know, what you think is not going to matter. It's what you're going to be able to prove. And if they have the proof, great for them, cool. But this again is another one where I haven't seen any substantiated evidence to back up the claim that this is Delirious, the Susan Storm stuff. It very well could be, and again, maybe they have it. I'm just saying, as far as what's been publicly shared, there's nothing to indicate that, right? Publicly and privately, Delirious defamed Ohm to anyone who would listen, and and with the very next breath or keystroke, Delirious pointed his followers at Ohm's front door. That's so dramatic. What a dramatic way to put that. Okay, so it's funny and so ironic, right? Is that all of this can be said about Ohm as well, right? Publicly and privately, right? That he defamed Ohm to anyone that would listen. Well, Ohm did kind of the same thing, right? When he went around and told other people, right? And again, allegedly, we'll say allegedly because I'll be charitable here. We'll say allegedly because we'll have to wait and see. But I have no reason to. The reason why I don't doubt it is because we know, from what Childa said publicly, from what TJ has said publicly, from how we've seen, from what we saw with Ritz plays, right? Ohm will go and hit up people behind the scenes and tell them stuff. You know what I mean? So I have reason to believe that that's true. Obviously, Delirious did the same thing, but it's like they both do the same thing. It's the same exact shit. So let's see. Delirious's attorney claims that Ohm's identity has been well known online for many years. However, his client, Delirious, knew this was not true. Delirious messaged Ohm while they were still friends in 2018 that someone was trying to reveal Ohm's name and address to dox him. Ohm, someone is trying to dox you. Just want to let you know. Do you see this? This is a DM. Yes, I've known for 2 days. Appreciate the heads up. Okay, so here we go, right? Ohm, someone is trying to dox you, right? So in the message above, Delirious shows he knew how important it was to Ohm that he remain anonymous. Delirious knew that Ohm's identity and address were not public information, and he knew by accusing Ohm of pedophilia and posting his true address, Delirious put Ohm's safety at risk. Okay, first off, let's address this right here, right? That he knew how important his anonymity was, right? And he knew that and that he knew how does him saying that, hey, somebody's trying to dox you, right? How does that prove that Delirious knew that his information was not public? There's no way to tell that just from that message. That's a presumption that is being made, right? Because I could tell somebody, hey man, people are trying to dox you. That doesn't mean that I don't know if the dox is already out or not. I could just see stuff online of people trying to mobilize and trying to dox. You know what I mean? That's not me saying that I knew that the address wasn't already publicly available. So I don't think that's a good argument either. And I think that's something, again, look, if Delirious is, if their attorneys are paying attention, I'm sure that's something that they're also going to bring up too. It's just like, that doesn't mean that his information wasn't already out there. And you see right here, this is another thing that's important too, right? That I'm saying, yes, I've known for 2 days. Appreciate the heads up. So he knew so that's either that's something that they could probably argue and say, well, how do we know that it seems like your client knew that his docs was already out there 2 days prior to our client even, bringing it to his attention, which is something I'm sure that they're going to try to argue. Right. Let me see. Let me see. Delirious argues that because Ohm's address and other identifying information existed in obscure corners of the internet, despite Ohm's best efforts, that Delirious's publication of Ohm's identity as Ohmwrecker and his address does not count as him targeting an Illinois citizen. Delirious misses what is the issue here. Just because someone else may have targeted Ohm, it does not negate Delirious's conduct, nor does it somehow mean that this court suddenly lacks jurisdiction over him. So, I mean, I think that's fair to say, right, that it does not negate his conduct as far as, Is it meaning, as far as jurisdiction goes, again, that's I think there's still an argument to be made there. A motion for reconsideration is only proper where the court has patently misunderstood a party or has made a decision outside of the adversarial issues presented to the court by the parties, or has made an error not of reasoning but of apprehension. So this is obviously citing another case here. There's no misapprehension here, as Your Honor correctly noted, by allegedly publishing Ohm's home address and encouraging others to take action against him. He expressly aimed his defamatory conduct at Illinois. Again, the judge sees it that way, but again, I'm not entirely convinced of that. You know what I mean? But we'll see. We'll see if the judge, stands by her previous motion. So we'll go on here. Let me see. It's on the facts amount of constitutional minimum context with the form state, also noting that as a pre-discovery stage of litigation, so they're saying that, the Delirious' motion should be totally denied, and that's pretty much it, right? And then here's some of the exhibits that are shown, right? This is an affidavit for Ohm. He says, I being first duly sworn, state that from my own personal knowledge, if called to testify, I can truly and competently testify to the following. My name is, he says his real name at all times relevant to this case. I have lived in Illinois after graduating from college in 2015 and working for some time later that year. I endeavored to make a career from performing commentary over video games, something that I love. At that time, I began withholding my true name and likeness from the public in my professional capacity. I began holding myself out to the professional gaming community solely as Ohmwrecker, in large part for security concerns, especially as I gained a following, to which that's reasonable. You know what I mean? To certain industry companies with whom I partnered, I provided as little identifying information as possible. Most of them only knew me by my username, Ohmwrecker, from 2013 to the present. I have not shown my face while streaming. Most commentators show their face. I have not attended live events or provided my name or address to fans. This correspondence attached as Exhibit 8 are true and accurate copies of correspondence I had with various online directors, including whitepages.com, pq.com, where I completed the required process to have my identifying information, including my address, removed from those websites. There are only a few of many examples of steps I've taken to remain anonymous. The correspondence attached is Exhibit B are true and accurate copies of emails with business contacts from 2014 to the present, where I discuss the importance of keeping my identifying information secret. Even in those emails with gaming industry companies, nothing more is revealed than my first name. I did everything possible to keep my identity and address from public, both for my security, my family, and girlfriend's safety. The response brief contained as a true excerpt of a conversation I had with Delirious on May 26, 2018, in which Delirious informed me that someone was trying to dox me. From that message and other correspondence, Delirious made it clear that he knew that I valued keeping my identity and home address private. The Kiwi Farms website page reference in this response brief contained my actual address. I do not know how they obtained it. It's Kiwi Farms, man. I mean, they're always going to find stuff like that. After Delirious repeatedly and publicly posted screenshots of that page showing my address, or when he directed his followers to visit that page, and two, falsely accused me of pedophilia, I received many threats to my physical safety, except for which appear in this response brief. So there we have, under penalty, him saying under penalty of perjury, yada, yada, yada. This is where he shows that he removed, I guess. So this is interesting, right? So we see, he did attempt to get his stuff removed from the internet. Just make sure wish to control information displayed. I'm happy to report that you found out. Right? So they did, at least on some white page informations, did remove his stuff. Please note this removal does not affect public record section of PQs. Listening to remove the information from our automated feed, you will need to contact these companies. So, he did go through the effort of removing, it seems, his information from pages where it would have been accessible. But again, even still, look, Kiwi Farms got it. It is what it is. And there's not really much more to say about this outside of the fact that it's, look, maybe they got something more. Again, in fairness to maybe they have something. Maybe that's just something they're waiting to show at a later time. Maybe they're waiting for, if it goes as far as deposition, maybe that's when they're gonna, pull the ace right, from the sleeve to show, irrefutable evidence. But as far as these filings go and what is publicly available, we have not seen that yet. And again, I've never said that it doesn't exist. But at least is what we're seeing publicly. I haven't seen anything to indicate that just yet. And it's interesting to me that the argument that is being made continues to be that hey, look, this was being broadcast to millions of followers when we haven't seen that. We just have not seen that. That's just objectively not true. We haven't seen any instance where it was blasted out by Delirious on any of his main accounts, right? I haven't seen it. Again, does it exist? Maybe. And if it does, well then shit, happy to correct the record, but I haven't seen it yet. I have not seen it. And to me, conflating or trying to mislead people into thinking that oh, hey, well, this alt account was his. Let's say, and again, what if it was, right? What if it was Delirious's alt account? It's still not being broadcast to his millions of followers, right? Unless he retweeted it. Now, if you got that shit, then you got something. I think that would be at least something a little bit more concrete that you could stand on. You have ground to stand on there, because then it's like, ooh, not good. Yeah, he did retweet it to his millions of followers on Twitter or whatever, right? When he retweeted it. Or if he posted it on a community page, on his community page, like on YouTube or one of his other social media accounts that has a substantially large following, right? Shit, man. I mean, it's then you could say, you have something that I think then you have him a little bit more dead to rights. But him gay-opping behind the scene and sending it to random people that, again, and this is no offense to anybody, there's no offense to children or anybody else, but people that don't have like a substantially, like a super huge following or anything like that, that's just not the same. It's just not. So again, although it was a very piss poor attempt by Delirious to do things, covertly, at least you could say, again, objectively looking at it, there at least was a really bad attempt by Delirious to do it covertly, whereas a lot of the stuff that Ohmwrecker said has been very public. A lot of the defamatory stuff he has said has been very public, So, take that for what you will. But it's going to be interesting to see what happens with the countersuit, if it goes anywhere. I think that a lot of the stuff that Delirious has is strong too, in regards to what was publicly said about him in terms of defamation. And if we look at the tortious interference claim, and if we look at, let's go back, because this is something that was brought to my attention yesterday, right? Because I wasn't sure about, I don't know if the viewership for Delirious has dropped. So we'll look at a Social Blade. And it does look like around May, right, of 2021, right? It's around the time, around Drama Alert time. It does look like he did start to have a drop in his viewership. So as far as the tortious interference claim regarding this, there might be something here. Yeah, it looks like there is something here. There was a dip right here, and then it went up a little bit, but as you can see, he peaked out around here, and maybe prior to this, I would have to go back a little further beyond May 2020 to see if it was higher. I would assume that it would be higher, but I don't know, because then when we see, the subscribership gain here, it peaked out, it dropped here, but then it kind of normalized here. But it didn't really go back up, which is interesting. It just kind of, flatlined a little bit there and stayed that way. So there's probably cause here. I'd have to see a little bit more analytics, but it does look like possibly, it might have, the whole drama with him and what Ohm put out there did affect his viewership a bit. His viewership definitely went down a lot. But again, I would have to see what is beyond this, how low it was beyond this, if it was around here and this is just a couple good months for him. But definitely you see it here. This is around the time that the allegations against came out. It did dip here, and then we have the dip here, but then it just kind of stays like that. It kind of stagnated around there. So yeah, as far as the tortious interference for this, yeah, he might have something, but I think for sure, and I'm pretty inclined to believe, again, as I said yesterday, that because Ohm had put it out there publicly that he had reached out to sponsors, which was not, he wasn't doing himself a favor by doing that. I'm inclined to believe that they'll have that evidence to prove that it was a result of Ohm hitting up that particular sponsor. And if it's true that it was a $500,000 deal, man, like I said, look, this is where I said where Ohm wasn't doing himself any favors, where he should have just stayed quiet instead of hitting people up, instead of getting into people's comments and doing stuff like that. He should have just played whatever it was that he was planning on doing. He should have just played it close to the vest and should have just done that. That's the criticism I have for him. Is that he should have just not said anything if he was planning to do anything. But look, the guy's an emotional guy. He wears his emotion on his sleeve, and he made a lot of mistakes too. So I think, again, I still stand by that. I think the whole lawsuit is dumb. I think the way they both acted was really dumb. I think Delirious acted very stupid. Ohm acted very stupid. They both essentially did the same thing to a certain degree. The only difference I could see is that Delirious tried to be a little bit more covert about it, but failed miserably. And Ohm just was much more brazen about what he was doing for whatever reason. I guess because he really truly believes in his heart the stuff about Delirious. And again, look, it could all. There's always the possibility that it could be true. But again, I say this all the time, guys. Especially if you've been watching my streams for a while. It's not what you know or what you think you know. It's about what you can prove. And so far, again, at least, if he's trying to get a win in the court of public opinion with these filings, or even with just the court case in general, right? Because I'm sure that if it were to go to court and somehow he managed to win, he's going to take a victory lap online, right? And he's going to say that validated all his claims. I see a scenario where that happens, even though it's a civil trial. It's not a criminal trial. It doesn't really validate whether or not Delirious is an actual pred or not. It's just gonna show that, okay, you beat him in court regarding defamation claims and stuff like that, and damages that you suffered as a result of the claims, right? The court decided to side with you, but that doesn't get us any closer to whether or not any of the defamatory stuff you said about him was ever true. So let's see what happens. But I'll probably wrap it up here. I appreciate you all joining me, and be sure to give the video a like. That'll help it out. I see some new names in here. I hope you guys will subscribe. Basic Gaming. I don't think I've ever seen you on a live stream before. Axe, I haven't seen you in a while. How you doing? Grim Reaper is here. Bowsette is here. So I see some familiar faces. Apple Pie. Yeah, appreciate you all joining the stream. That's pretty much it. I mean, there was another filing, but like I said, there's not really anything to that filing. I mean, I'll go for a little bit more. I guess I'll go for about 12 more minutes if anybody has any questions about stuff. But the other filing is really just things that Delirious, he admits to certain things in the filings, but he largely denies a lot of the allegations presented in the in the suit, right, against him. So, and then, like I said, we went over the counter suit yesterday. So it'll be interesting to see what's happening. It's just this case is one of the dumbest ones I think I've ever covered. Like I said, the one to me that again, the highlight for me was the Jisoo one because of how high drama it was and how ridiculous, of a personality Jisoo is, and how she was just so willing to die on that hill. But then again, look, in fairness to Ohm, right? I think we'll get that with Ohm too. I think Ohm is more than willing to die on this hill, and that's fine. You know what I mean? In order to be right, he seems like the kind of guy that will be willing to die on this hill too. And like I said, look, if he gets his win in court, I'm sure he'll take his victory lap online about it, or not, because I guess it all depends on if there's there could end up being a settlement, because a lot of times in these kind of civil cases, that's what it ends up being, is just a settlement where, hey, you don't talk about me, I don't talk about you. Here's X amount of money. That's a wrap. But I don't know. I just I'm not impressed with this filing by Ohm's attorneys. They've had some decent filings before where they've argued well. But I think one of the things that they're doing, and again, I don't blame them, because they are his attorneys. They have to try to do what's best for their client and argue what they think is best for their client. But I think it's also pretty easy to poke holes in. It'll be interesting to see. Like, I just don't. Again, I don't see any smoking guns, and that could entirely be because of the strategy that they're trying to employ here, right? They might not necessarily want to show their hand just yet in these filings. They might want to wait till they're further along somewhere to be like, bam, that's entirely possible. But it just, I don't know. But I think on the other side, I think there's going to be just as much evidence, because again, Ohm made it very easy for people to have evidence on him as well, because of all the stuff he was saying publicly, because he just could not help himself. Like I said, him going into people's comment sections and writing like essays about why he was right and why, Delirious was a pred or a pedo and stuff like that. Like, it just, that's all the kind of stuff, man, that you should know is probably going to come back and haunt you if you ever find yourself in a situation like this, right? And he didn't really, from what I saw, even after the litigation started, right, when he filed suit, he didn't stop talking. He still continued to talk. He still continued to go into people's comment sections on their videos. He still, from my understanding, still went into people's DMs, right? The Ritz Play stuff, right? And who knows who else he's hit up, right? Since filing this suit behind the scenes. He's an emotional guy, and that's one of the things that I think is going to work against him if this countersuit goes through all the way. Guy wears his emotion on his sleeve. He should really just chill, just take a break offline. I know that you've built your business online and you feel that your career is very important, that you have to protect it. But sometimes the best defense and the best protection for that is honestly not to say anything. It's just to wait, just go through the legal system if that's the case, right? Because there's going to be people saying stuff about you all the time. Sometimes, a lot of times I would say, especially once you reach a certain degree of following, most of it is probably just going to be rumor and it's going to be largely untrue. But like, he goes out of his way, like he's like obsessed with he seems to be obsessed with what people think about him online. And that's another thing that we saw that was a little bit different, right? With how he handles things and how Delirious kind of handled things. Delirious didn't make it a point to respond to every single little thing, although he did respond sometimes. There's no doubt he did. He did go into people's chats and say dumb shit too. But for the most part, when he decided to stop responding, right, when he was like, okay, I'm not going to respond anymore and just focus on this other shit, he stopped. And he just went back to doing whatever he was doing beforehand. He completely stopped responding and went back to doing it beforehand, where Ohm just kept going and kept going and kept going. And it's just like, dude, you're making it like way too easy. You're making it way too easy, dude. You're going to make it way too easy for people, because you're putting it out there everywhere where it can be easily found. It's easily accessible to people. So, so we'll just, we'll leave it at that. I appreciate you all joining me. You all have a fine Sunday evening. And once I have another update, you guys know that I will be firing up a live stream and we'll go over it. But for those of you that aren't following, follow me on Twitter. For those of you that aren't following me on Twitter, because that's the best way to know when these things are coming up. So it's at Toy Bounty Hunter. And yeah, you all have a fine Sunday evening. Thank you all for joining me. I appreciate y'all.